All right, guys, we are back. Listen, I got an exclusive video for you. This is the SPY Insider Leak. That's right, the SPY Insider Leak, where I show you where the banks are moving and what they're doing with their positions, okay? Listen, we're going to be talking about Bitcoin, Ethereum, and also the broader market, okay? You want to know about XRP? Then this video is for you. But before we get into that video, I want to show you guys some recap from last week, right inside of the Discord in Lessons and Losses. I predicted the move you see on SPY days ago, weeks ago, okay? And I want you guys to see so you can see where we're going and where we came from. Remember, this video is going to be for you finding out how to trade SPY in the broader markets next week. You don't want to miss this video, but let's get into this clip real quick. Attempting to try to do it again, right? But that didn't happen, all right? Happened here, happened over this way. So we took out the bears and the bulls took control right here at this level, okay? Momentum came in. Now you have this tweezer top here. So it's going to be interesting to see if we get that pullback tomorrow on some news or some data, whether or not we open up higher tomorrow again. I will be secure privacy, moving up my stop the same as I always do. So I've accepted the risk, all right? I've swung calls, and that's the truth. But we could get that pullback to the 21 and fill this gap on some ironic data or some sort of news from Trump, right? Some tweet. So I just want you to remember that. So if you to the 21 and fill this gap on some ironic data or some sort of news from Trump, right? Some tweet. So I just want you to remember that. So all right, see that? Did you guys hear that? Listen. What if I told you that the market isn't random? Huh? Would you believe me if I told you the market isn't random? What if I told you the chart is nothing more but a mirror, reflecting the collective fears, impulses, patience, and discipline, or lack of discipline from millions of traders? Would you believe me? Listen, welcome back to the unique trading group, where strategy meets mindset and discipline turns into income. Today, I'm going to give you the SPY Insider Leak, the real levels that big money cares about this week, all right? No guesswork, no hopium, just structure, psychology, and flow, all right? Think of yourself as Neo in the Matrix. Neo didn't dodge bullets because he was special. He dodged them because he understood the system. That's right. And once you understand SPY levels, you'll stop being the target and start trading like you're inside the matrix, all right? So listen, market psychology and the matrix behind SPY. Let's head over to the charts, okay? That move that I told you about in that recap video, we talked about waiting on a pullback from some ironic tweet or some news, and we got that news. What was the news? Ironically, the news was about how the government shutdown was going to be over. But as you can see, price fell. It didn't go up. We fell. Now, why is that? It's a cause of a technical pattern. That's all, guys. We were overbought. We were hitting here, right, at these levels, creating a lower high from this previous high, which is a elementary simple term when you first start trading. Lower lows, lower highs, right? Any price that's lower and fails to get above previous highs is fail rotation, fail break, all right? And we create these lower high patterns. And what do? We got that big old drop we got here. Now I want to specify this drop because this drop is what I predicted, okay? In my previous video, talking about how we could see prices fall all the way back down here to around 661, 662. We didn't quite get 661, but we did hit that low of day. And the low of that price was 663, okay? And we created what? Another low, a higher low here, which is a bullish term, a higher low, because you have price that came and stopped a little bit higher than its previous. As you can see, that slope going upward. All right, that's what I want you to recognize. Now, not only did we catch that move, right, but we're prepared ahead of time. We're prepared so when price reacts, we're ready to pounce. We're ready to execute. Now that you see that we predicted that move down from that news is right in front of you, let's head over back to the Discord because this is exactly what I gave away after that move inside of my Discord. That's right. I give out exclusive trades. I give out scalps, swing trades, and day trade alerts, okay? And right here last week, if you remember that movie here, all right, hurry up and buy because we got that flush and I knew that there were going to be traders who are going to be chasing, all right? And so I want you guys to see where my head is at and how you are prepared being with this group. I posted on Webull, all right? I'm also part of the Webull community. I have a couple subscribers there and followers. And this was the post before the market opened, okay? I said, don't ever chase price. There will be rookies chasing puts. That's when you lose. When the PCE put call ratio hits extreme and we start to fall, that's your signal to buy calls on SPY. Otherwise, we will see lower prices, 660. All right, we got that. Okay, and below, if you get caught on the wrong side of the market. So I instructed, wait for a lower high rejection to short. Wait for that lower high rejection to short. On the time frame you choose, check the weekly and the monthly candle, and you can see the lows, the previous highs, and the open and closing prices. You can see the clear target based on trapping in rookies at the demand and supply using the volume profile for your thin zones. We got about 100 and something votes. All right. That's what happened on that day. And sure enough, on SPY, that's what happened intraday when we opened up. Okay. We opened up, some traders chased, and we rallied all day long. Very slow grind up to around 675. Okay, that's what happened last week on Friday. Now I warned you. Now half of that message that you just seen, it said to wait for a lower high in order to see an area where you want to short. Now where would that be on the chart? As of right now, at the time of this recording, SPY is at 673. All right, it's 4:12 p.m. on a Sunday. The market opens up tomorrow 9:30. All right, we got a lot of volatility. And guess what? The banks are doing, all right? The insider league on SPY. I'll tell you what they're doing. But before I tell you, recognize the technical setup. We're looking for that lower high to short. Right now we're at 673. We got to get past 675 in order for us to see upside continuation. Right here where I have that money sign at, this is where your money lies. This is where your opportunity. And you want to predefine your risk, your entry, and exits. What does that mean? Let me tell you real quick. Pay attention. What if I only wanted to enter into my trade above my 21 SMA? I enter in above the 21 as price closes, whether I get in on a close or get in on a breach of it. And we are on a 1 hour time frame. So technically, if you wanted to wait for a close, you wait for that 1 hour candle to close and you enter into the trade. That's your entry. You defined your entry. Where's your exit? All right. Your exit would be targeting previous highs. All right. Where supply got weak. You want to target these zones. That's where we fell from, right? That's your exit. Now, we discussed the entry and we discussed the exit. What about predefining your risk? The most important, right? I like 1 bar stops. So if you enter in on this candle, put your stop right below that bar. 1 bar stop, okay? Some people use the daily low like I do. I use the daily low. That's where I want to put my stop at the daily lows from before. And that's what I do, okay? That's how you predefine your entry, your exit, and your risk. Rewind that if you didn't catch it. I know I said it pretty fast, but that's exactly what this is. And now we have the same opportunity right in front of you to do the same thing next week. Now, here's what I'm looking for, okay? I wouldn't want to take a call unless we got above the 20 on EMA. That's 675. We closing above it, right? We rally back towards the upside, towards 681, 682. This is where I want to secure my profits because we could possibly reject and fall back down. Now, we have to get past 675. Right now in pre-market on SPY, we are above the previous close a little bit. And why is that? Because we had a lot of push down last week, and so it's a slow grind towards the upside, all right? Now we having a little bit of pullback here. You notice here when we went up, we didn't have any pullback, and these are the Heikin-Ashi candles. But right here we have a little bit momentum to the downside. Now, there is bearish and bullish divergence all over the chart, meaning if the chart is going up, but the MACD and your RSI indicator is going down, that's bearish divergence. You want to watch for that. I talk about this in my previous videos. Okay, but that's what you want to wait for because the banks, that's right, the banks, guess what they're doing, all right? they're not loading up on the dip right now on SPY, all right? That's not what's going on. Every move in this market begins with a decision, a click, a push of a button, long or short. Risk or no risk. The chart is a self-portrait of human behavior, guys. FOMO leaves footprints. Fear leaves footprints. Fear creates opportunity. All right, discipline leaves footprints as well. And this week, SPY is not reacting to news, it's reacting to liquidity. And the banks are mapping out the path before retail even wakes up, okay? So let's get straight into those levels that matter, all right? Remember that the previous close was 661. That's the previous close. 671, I'm sorry. 671 is the previous close, all right? So we are bullish above that level, okay? We see the demand level at 661, all right? 673 is the midway point from the previous monthly close. Remember that. 673 is the midpoint of the previous monthly close. It's going to act like a magnet and a decision point. So you see price there, go up, bounce back to it, or get above it and stay. It's going to act as a magnet for price to continue higher. This is your roadblock level, 673. If SPY reclaims 673 and holds, that's the green light for momentum for the algorithms to step back in right here. You see that? Hope you guys can see that right above my 21 trigger. How ironic is that? All right, to fill in these gaps here that you see. Okay, there are gaps towards the upside, just like there were gaps towards the downside, and we filled them once we fell. Okay, so that's what I'm looking for. Does it have to happen? No, but I'm waiting on my entry, being patient, predefining my entry, my exit, and my risk. Okay, so now that you got that, 675 and 680, these are the next targets, right? These are your continuation channels, your continuation prices right here, okay? Hope you guys are sticking with me. If you've been enjoying it so far and you've getting any value, do me a favor, smash that like button, right? And subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Hit that bell notification. That way you're notified when I drop value videos before anyone else, all right? Now, this zone unlocks higher time frame momentum, 675 and 680. You need to understand that. It unlocks higher time frame momentum. Now we are on the 1 hour. If these prices breach on the 4 hour or the daily, right? It comes from my daily price movement range and my monthly price movement range. If you don't know what that is, check out my playlist below, subscribe to the channel, and check out the how to beginner section. And I have a section about the DPMR system. Very user friendly and very beginner friendly if you're listening. But I'm just letting you guys know for the context you can research. Once these prices breach, all right, it's going to unlock higher time frame momentum. The banks typically begin scaling there. So 689 is the optimal upside magnet. All right, you guys don't remember we hit a high of 689 just a couple of weeks ago back here on October. All right, before the month ended. All right, and we've never reclaimed those prices, but we have whipsaw back and forth. All this volatility inside of this volume profile here, these thin zones, you can kind of see that. And we're inside these same clusters. Just from months ago, weeks ago, thin zones inside of these clusters that matter, the volume profile. And I will be doing a video if you guys want me to do a video on that. It's a future forward thinking indicator, not like lagging indicators, like moving averages. All right. So let me know below in the comments if you want me to do a video on volume profile, and I will do that for you guys, specifically for those by demand. All right, now liquidity 689. Like I said, that's the ultimate upside magnet that price is trying to get to. If liquidity is thin and buyers step up, 689 becomes the final destination for the week. That's right, from Monday to Friday. You can use this video all week long. That's just how this works, okay? But to reach any of this, SPY must maintain a higher low. Do not confuse the bounce with a trend reversal back to the upside. This is a relief phase, not a bull run, okay? So I just want you to think about that, all right? We can take off all of this on my chart, all right? I want you to think about this. Do we have an established downtrend? That's the first thing. Do we have an established downtrend on a smaller level? Yes, we do. Why? Because we have a lower high, all right? But do we have a higher low here? Yes, we do. We do have that, right? Price is in between. This still is a higher low than that one, correct? Yes, it is. See that? All right, still a higher low. Still a higher low, all right? So we're inside this channel, all right? Right depth slab in the middle at 673, waiting to reclaim that 21. That's where we are right now. So the person who jumps too early is going to lose. That's just what's going to happen. You need to think about this, okay? I want you guys to really think about this. Think about the numbers and the levels, okay? 660, 661, all right? That's a loss of demand, okay? If price falls back down and breaches these levels and breaks down, it's a loss of demand. It's no longer bouncing. And you want to target what? These previous lows. Check the option chain The option chain on your brokerage account will show you these strikes and expiration dates for certain tickers. You can go and see the flow and see how much money in open interest and volume is going towards these numbers. All right. Now we can get back to 660 and break these previous demand levels of 661 and 662. But if we break 660, 658 now is the next level to look for. Now don't ever chase. It could be a trap for price to retrace back towards the upside because people are chasing. But if it holds as a true supply where there's no demand, 658 is going to be a breakdown trigger. Momentum shifts bearish quickly here at 658. All right. 653 is a gap window, a liquidity pool. This is where liquidity gets swept cleanly. Remember, 658, if it breaks, becomes the trigger for bearishness and it holds there as supply or resistance. We're going to get to 653 fairly quickly. It's a gap window, a liquidity pool. All right. You see that here. All right. We got these gaps down here. We've been moving up ever since. All right. So I want you guys to remember below 653, 647 is a major liquidity pool. The big funds have orders resting down there at 647. So be prepared. I won't go any further when it comes to those prices. Now you have an understanding of that, right? I want to move along. All right. This is my segue over into what the banks are doing this week. Okay. I want you to understand what the banks are doing this week. Now, listen to me, guys. The commercial banks, they're not guessing. They're not hoping. They're positioning, all right? They're offloading puts into fear, okay? They're scaling calls in a discounted levels, all right? They're letting retail sell emotional type of trades right into the market. That's what's going on. They're letting retail sell emotionally into liquidity pockets. That's what's happening. And while you panic, they accumulate. While you chase, they distribute. And while you react, they plan. This week, the banks are watching that 661 and that 660 level like hawks. I'm telling you, if buyers hold it, they'll ride their relief bounce into 673 and higher like we see now pre-market, post-market, and potentially 675 and 680. But if that level cracks, they will absolutely walk this market down into liquidity pockets at 653 and 647. Guys, listen, you're Neo. All right. The enemy isn't the market. The enemy is undisciplined decision making. Your subconscious is Agent Smith, pulling you into FOMO, revenge trades, panic entries, early exits. When you predefine your entry, your stop, and your take profit, you unplug from the matrix. You start reacting instead of predicting, which I do a lot of predicting, but it's coming from human psychology, human behavior. If you're not ready for that yet, stick to what you know, and what I'm teaching you is to predefine your entry, your exit, and your risk before every trade. That way, you're going off a systematic approach, not emotions, okay? You got to stick to it, though. To be disciplined, sticking to your plan, all right? You start following structure this way, and you start thinking like liquidity, not chasing it, all right? Your mission this week, your job for this week is simple. Wait for price to test key levels, then react. Not predict, not guess, not hope. Let structure show you the higher low. Do not mistake a bear market relief rally for a reversal. Protect your capital first. Grow it second. Protect your capital first. Grow it second. Now, I'm going to get back over because that's my motivational speech that I want you guys to know about. Okay, you need to hear that. Next week right now, all right, we're going to go to a smaller time frame. All right. Well, first, let's start on the monthly. I want to show you. All right, the monthly time frame right now on the SPY. What does it look like? What do we have on the monthly? Okay. If any of these candles are breaching the previous candle and we got a bearish engulfing, okay, we don't have a green candle. We're not making higher lows, right? Okay, listen, this is what I see right now on the monthly time frame, okay? I see us losing some momentum. That's what we're doing. We haven't engulfed this candle. This previous candle right here on the monthly, that low is 652. That's why I was telling you guys, if we breach certain demand levels here, we could go back and retest. All right, I actually see us breaking over. If we find flush, okay, listen to me closely, okay? Once you see a red candle break this simple line, you can put this on your chart as you're walking with me right now. A trend line on a monthly chart. Once this breaches and breaks, you got to break a structure. And price likes to revert back to the 21. 21 is at 591. I'm not saying we're going to go there. I'm just giving you market structure, right? We also have a supply area here and demand, turn demand here, okay? So 615, it's another area that price could fall to. Significance right there, okay? But right now on the monthly time frame, it's not showing so much momentum. We're kind of weakening, we're kind of falling. And I want you to understand that. We're right dab slab in the middle of the last month's close, all right? Remember we talked about that, the midway point of the previous month, okay? We talked about that. Okay, and that's going to be 674. 674 is the midway number. Now I'm going to check something. All right, 674 is the midway point for the hour, and 671.27 is the put pressure below there. All right, 671.27. Write that number down. 671.27 is going to be your put pressure below. All right, and that's the midway of last month. That's what the midway of last month is. This candle here. All right, we can use that data for current times. That's what I want you to understand. So I'm going to be replaying this video. I'm going to be playing it back to you, the recap, like I always do, for you guys to continue to see this recap before it happens and after it happens. I'm going to be replaying this part for you. All right, now let's move on down to the weekly chart. Okay, now as you can see on the weekly chart, we have a little bit of stagnation, right? We're choppy. We're not really going up anymore. We're ranging inside this range, okay? Anytime we break out of these ranges and you see price get above previous close on SPY, it's going to be bullish. We close at 671. So if we are above that right now at 673, that's not bearish, that's bullish. We have a little bit of bullish pressure and you want to retest those highs. You got to define that. You got to understand that, all right? Even though we're bearish and going down, all right, you get caught when you chase and don't predefine and look at the context, all right? You got to see all of the time frames so that you can get the best entry, the best probability in your exits. You got to have a game plan, okay? Now, if we break below here, we can see these prices back to 647. We talked about this. Now, this is on a weekly. Now, if we can fall back to 647, there's some news that comes out and we see strength pick in and volume pick up, then I want to buy the dip there. But volume is losing strength here, all right? And so I'm very cautious. Only playing the short-term momentum to the upside, not the longer term for right now. We gotta wait, all right? The banks are offloading, okay? They're not adding to their calls. That's what the banks are doing. The COT report says that they're not adding right now. They are expecting uncertainty for the next couple of weeks heading towards Thanksgiving and Christmas. That's what you guys need to know about SPY, and that's why I'm doing this video. Now on the daily, tells us a different story right now, okay? Why is that? Because we have that simple market structure that we talk about, right? We have the higher lows here, and we have this RSI MACD type indicator I use called the QQE module. This is going upwards. That's bullish divergence. Even though price is not above the 21, okay? We do have a higher low here established that we talked about on the 1 hour, okay? And so I am looking for some sort of continuation towards the upside, but we got to get past 674 and 673, 675. These are your zones to watch. I am telling you guys, you got to get past those zones to see any continuation towards the upside. Now let's go back to the 4 hour. All right. On a 4 hour, shows a little bit more momentum towards the downside. And again, you can't see it on my screen, but we are at 673 right now on SPY. And we have to get past, every time we go to a different time frame on a 4 hour, you can kind of see the 21 gets higher and higher. And so we have to pass these and breach these levels to see that power on a higher time frame to push price up. We talked about this, okay? That's what you see here. Let's go to the 1 hour. All right. Same thing. I only want to take a trade to the upside above the 21. If we wake up in the morning on Monday and price does not get past 673, 74, 75, and you start seeing resistance and bearish engulfings, I want to short the market back down to these levels. Remember that I said that. What levels? 671, 663, 660, 670, 669. All of these levels here. You pick your target. What's the best risk to reward? Can you hold all the way down here if we reject here? All right. Because if we reject here, we can make that same leg right here, okay? Same leg we can make. This leg here, if we reject here, we can make that same leg down to come retest these demand levels. That's what you could get. I want you guys to understand that. That's what you could get, okay? All right, let's move on along. We're going to be wrapping up SPY and moving on. All right, here's the 5-minute time frame. Now you guys can see what I'm saying. 673 is right there. And we are above it on a 5 minute. This is intraday in a micro small time frame. All right. Okay, so this is why I'm saying it's short-term momentum, but don't think this is a reversal until it confirms it wants to stay over and we have volume kicking in, all right? And the rotation is in there, all right? That's right. MDY, QQQ, IWM, and the SPY. I'll say it again. MDY, SPY, IWM, QQQ. If all 4 of these ETFs are green, plus green percentage, when you look at the 11 sectors and you see momentum in all of these, and right, and we're up on the day, 1% up, 2% up, 0.5% up, that's when it's risk on, all right? And you want to be checking out the HYG and the VIX. We already talked about this before, okay? We talked about this before. When this goes down, SPY goes up. I'm sorry. When this goes down, SPY follows it right now. And when it goes up, SPY goes up as well. All right, we predicted these levels here. This same blue line is here from my previous video. We hit it and we fell down. Looking for these zones to be retested. We retested it already, bounced up. We can retest these zones. I'm watching this for SPY, guys. You see this? It's your indicator, what they call a market internal. A market internal. You see what happens before it happens. You guys with me? All right, let's move on to Bitcoin. Thank you guys for watching thus far. Okay, Bitcoin, for all my Bitcoin lovers. The banks are buying Bitcoin. They're loading up like there's no tomorrow. This is what the data says from the COT report, the commitment of traders. All right, they're buying up Bitcoin at these levels. And this is what we see here. Money is rotating and going towards Bitcoin. I guess for the equities and the techs, kind of rotating out a little bit. We do have earnings, so maybe people are just cautious of earnings and being very cautious. But the banks are buying up Bitcoin. Right now, at the time of this recording, we could be at 94,000. This is TradingView, so I can't see the actual data on this account for TradingView, but we could be a little bit further up, but it closed at 93,000, and the banks are buying. Wanted to throw that, guys, on your radar. Ethereum, also Ethereum is being bought up as well. All right, the banks are buying up Ethereum as well. All right, if you're long term on Bitcoin and Ethereum, of course, you always like the discounts, but they are buying. They are buying Ethereum. Okay, Bitcoin and Ethereum. I mean, a lot. Okay, guys. I want to throw it on your radar. I don't have certain levels for you. I'm just telling you that they are buying. All right, Ethereum and Bitcoin. I won't go into details with technicals on these videos for crypto, but I did want to let you guys know what the banks are doing. I trade SPY religiously. It gives me the range I need, and it gives me the volatility that I need to make a consistent income. So the banks are buying Ethereum, they're buying Bitcoin, but they're not buying the dip on SPY just yet, expecting uncertainty. All right, let's go over to the last stock we have is XRP. Wow, look at XRP. All right, so the banks are also buying XRP at these levels while the spectators are shorting, right? So they're shorting XRP right now, but the banks are buying. Now, you know all three of these segues and these sections that I'm giving you to know that the banks are buying. They're buying these levels, okay? So you want to watch next week. Maybe it's for a safety haven, but the banks are accumulating. Institutions are accumulating on XRP, Bitcoin, and Ethereum. All right, guys. Now, I'm going to go ahead and close out. Thank you guys for watching thus far. I really do appreciate you guys coming week after week, month after month, day after day to check out this content. It really does mean something, and it lets me know that what I do is very important to somebody out there trying to learn trading, trying to get some insight. If there's anything you guys want to suggest for the channel, hey, I talk back, I engage. Leave a comment below, and I will respond to you. Just remember that, you know, you guys are Neo in this market, man. All right. But only you can learn and see the code behind the candles. I can teach you, give you videos, mentor you, and coach you, which I do. All right. I have a Discord group down below. Right. Click that link below. And I also have a book for the community, for the trading community. If you want to learn how to trade options, right? My style is for any market. And that's what you don't know, but you know now. All right. So it's The Power of Paytience is my book that I that I published last year. And you can purchase that down in the link below. So these are my SPY insider levels for the week that I gave you guys. Lock in, rewind the video if you need to. It's there for you. Follow the map, follow the money, all right, and add discipline to your trading, all right. Please trade with discipline, guys. All right, comment the word matrix below if you want that crypto version next. All right, if you want some Tesla or some Amazon, right? You want to do the volume profile, right? A future forward thinking indicator. If these are some of the things you guys want, right? How to open up a brokerage account, right? A one-on-one options trading course, all right? Anything you could think of, guys. I take suggestions. This is for a community of people who want to learn and desire to learn trading, and I'm here for you guys, okay? This is the unique trading group where strategy meets mindset and discipline turns into income, truly. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.